Justin Cooper, Marvin Muscan, Hunter Lawrence, but we've got Dean Wilson down the inside on the 450, so the strategy there, I guess, is to push. There's Glenn Coldenough down the inside, number 4, and the 22 of Jeremy Seawer, so there are some big hitters in there on the MXGP class, but it looks like there are a lot of MX2 bikes down the inside. That could be crucial.
Yeah, and you wonder if everything was pre-planned or if there were moves and counter moves. Koldenoff obviously went to that inside gate here in 2018 and made good from it. Everybody has their own unique strategy, and I know for Team USA, they want to get Justin Cooper out front. He's a great starter. He knows up against these 450s, he's got to get out front early.
Well, the rain has just started to fall again. We've actually been lucky the last hour and a half or so. No rain, bright skies, you know, the sun bursting through. But as you can see, just ahead of MXGP and MX2, race 1 and the Fly Racing 15-second board going up. The rain has started to fall. They have prepared the track as best they could after the B final. It's going to be sticky in places. It's going to be better in others. But it's going to be an interesting first race, and all eyes over on the left-hand side of the gates. The gate drops over here. I'm going to keep an eye to the right-hand side as well as through the inside, and Tomac through the middle, and it's going to be Tomac and Jago Geerts. Geerts looked like he hit neutral as he came through there, but it's the American Eli Tomac and Maxime Renault second, Seawer in third, Jago Geerts fourth, and Hunter Lawrence there in 5th place, and Justin Cooper just a few positions further back.
Yeah, so a lot of the main protagonists here out front early. That was one of the big keys here in 2018 in the mud, was who got the starts, who got caught up in the first turn, and who didn't. Interesting to see Jago Geerts get the start. What an incredible performance by him yesterday, and we see him at the front yet again.
Hunter Lawrence, 1:14 for Australia. He is the lead MX2 rider in 5th position at the moment, but he's got MXGP riders ahead of him. Tomac, Renault, Geerts, Seawer, and Justin Cooper already making good ground. He started in 9th place, and he's all over the back of the Belgian there as he tried to find his way through. He went from one side of the track to the other. A lucky escape for the 102. Our teammates down there, 55 and 56 from Sweden. Oh, who else was in there as well? I think Wright.
And I believe that may be Renault in that 3rd spot there, number 13. We were thinking that was Justin Cooper, but I think that may be Renault. Cooper's a few spots back there in 9th, but still a great spot for France here. And Jago Geerts, again, this is his first real race on the 450 machine, and he's hanging right with Tomac on lap 1. Yeah,
apologies there. Obviously, just look, the similar colours there, the colourway there. But yeah, Maxime Renault in that 3rd place. So Jago Geerts, your qualifying race winner on Saturday in the MXGP class, is in 2nd position behind Eli Tomac of the United States, but Geerts looks very good, very efficient yesterday in that MXGP qualifying race, and he's exactly where he wants to be, and Belgium have their rider exactly where they want him to be as well. Where is Liam Everts, his wingman, number 17, and Geerts tripling over Larocco's lead. Eli Tomac not able to do that, and the gap coming down between 1st and 2nd.
Yeah, Geerts really going for that. I don't believe that anybody's done that yet today, so Geerts going with a leap of faith in the mud. We'll see if that continues. I think the track's going to break down a little bit. The berm's going to get worse. He'll have to stop doing that, but a great attempt for lap 1.
Thinking about the outdoor series this year, I don't recall there being a wet race in 2022 outdoors. That may or may not be a determining factor here, because obviously in MXGP we've had a few, and of course where the Europeans are coming from, they're used to these kind of conditions as well. Certainly people like Jago Geerts riding long week in, week out, mud, rain or shine, and obviously I would say at the moment, whilst Tomac is leading, Geerts looks the more relaxed and comfortable in these conditions. Maybe you would agree.
Absolutely, but again, this is motocross racing, no excuses, rain or shine, you've got to come here to win. So, you know, if one of the European teams wins today, I don't care what the weather brings, these guys have to show up. These are the conditions that we are presented with, and you know, to Tomac's credit, he's got out to a great start and he's getting the job done so far.
So Tomac, and actually, I will say, the Richies and their track crew have done a fantastic job getting this track into such a clean state after the B final, because it was a mess. And we have as open a racetrack that we could have expected ahead of race 1.
Yeah. This is a beautiful job. Those of you who tuned in for the B final a few hours ago, it looked nothing like this. And really the determining factor is going to be, what does the weather bring the rest of the afternoon? If we can avoid rain, they'll continue to work on the track and continue to improve it. Because right now you can see, yes, it's a little ruddy, yes, it's a little soft, but these guys are going pretty decent lap times. You know, they're turning in.
We'll get it next time around.
Yeah, so but reasonable. You can see the speed. This isn't too far off of what they were doing yesterday.
So Tomac leads. The first 6 riders are all MXGP 450 riders. Tomac, Geertz, Renault, Seewer, Evans, Prado. So we've got US, Belgium, France, Switzerland, Australia and Spain. Hunter Lawrence in 7th, the lead MX2 rider. Then Tony Cairoli in 8th for Italy. Then we've got, 5 riders in MX2. Justin Cooper in 9th. Adamo from Italy in 10th. Belgians, Everts is 11th place. De Wolf and then Muscan and Kevin Horgmo of Norway.
So Tomac opts to not jump it again, and Geertz got a bad run. He lost the rear end coming out of that turn and decided not to try it again. So that's something to keep an eye on. You can't save a ton of time in that corner, especially because everybody's choosing to go outside already, and that's a big factor because if you're going to opt to not jump this jump, ideally you'd want to go to the inside and make the track a lot shorter, but with the mud, they're having to use the outside anyway.
And just going back to my comments about a lap ago, thinking that maybe Geertz was a little bit more comfortable. It seems like Tomac just had that one lap to settle himself down, 2 seconds quicker than the Belgian on that opening lap. A 2:13.5 compared to a 2:15.9 and then a 2:16.8 for Maxime Renault, who has just set the fastest first sector of the race. There's a 22 of Jeremy Seewer of Switzerland. He's in 4th place. He looked good in practice yesterday, was impressive in the qualifying race until he made that one mistake on the final lap that allowed Eli Tomac to go back into 2nd position. And he will love to get a good result here, but still plenty left to go here. It's Tomac who leads. Popping up over the hill here, the number 13 of France, Maxime Renault, but just behind Jeremy Seewer and Mitch Evans.
And just notice the blue sky. That's the first time today that we've actually seen blue sky, so just maybe we're going to get lucky with the rest of the day, but the track, it's not that bad, right? You have to give so much credit to the track crew here. It's been a really soggy morning, and these guys, I mean, they are really pushing. You don't see them laboring through the mud like they have been this morning.
Jago Geertz is getting back on the pace again. A gap at 2.2 at the last split, but he's just gone 15.7, 3/10 quicker than Tomac at the first split. He's put the fastest split in sector 2, about 3 or 4 tenths quicker than Tomac there as well. So he is creeping back towards the rear wheel of the American, but it is Tomac who leads the way.
And something to keep an eye on, Tomac went inside for these sand rollers, and we may not get a glimpse of it, but the last lap he made a lot of time by using this inside line where we see Renault. And Geertz had gone to this outside and just kind of gotten deep right there. You see how heavy it is there, and he lost a lot of momentum. So that was a way that Tomac made time the lap before.
So 23.5 minutes plus 2 to go. That's an eternity when conditions are heavy like this. Renault choosing not to triple up over Larocco's lead, but
Seewer made the jump there. That's it's something to keep an eye on because it's such a time gainer. As I mentioned before, using that outside, if everybody's forced to go outside, that's going to be a lot of time that can be gained.
So Jeremy Seewer not scared to go big air. We've seen that throughout this year at certain races on the MXGP Tour, but just proving it once again there. He wants to maintain that kind of consistency. There may be a point in the race, though, where conditions out of that turn and running up towards Larocco's lead might not allow him to continually get over it.
Yeah, and it's one thing, you know, if Renault knows he's going to try to jump it, he can also block. He can stay in the same dry line and make sure that nobody can jump it behind him.
So as it stands right now then, after 2 laps, we're on lap 3 as we look at Antonio Cairoli in 7th position now behind Jorge Prado, and he takes a quick look across. USA leading the way on 10, Australia 13, Belgium 14, then we've got France and Italy rounding out the top 5. But Tony Cairoli, who briefly got Italy onto the podium here in 2018, he'll be hoping to do the same again today. Marvin Musquin of France, riding number 14. He is an MX2 rider. He is in 13th place. And he's the 6th best MX2 rider at the moment, just ahead of Kevin Horgmo there, number 95 of Norway. See how deep those ruts are now. The bike really working over time. The tyres digging in. Those accelerating bumps just starting to get all juttery.
Well, and I find it interesting. So you have Justin Cooper 9th, Hunter Lawrence 8th, and Marvin Musquin 13th, right? They were all on that inside with the gates, and we mentioned that Glenn Coldenhoff had chosen to go down there with them, but Coldenhoff finds himself down in 19th, so something must have went on in that first corner, but kudos to all of the MX2 riders for utilizing that inside.
Just looking at the fastest lap times, the top two riders actually, Tomac and Geertz, setting the purple timing, the timing screen purple. Sectors 1 and 3, Tomac. Sector 2, Geertz. But it was Geertz who had the fastest lap last time around by about 3/4 of a second. But he's lost time all of a sudden, because it's gone from about 1.2 to about 3.3. So a mistake for Geertz that time around. Here's Adamo dropping down the hill for Italy in the blue shirt. The Italian in 11th place. Tomac, though, knew he needed to get a good start. That's exactly what he's done, and he's just set the fastest lap of the race. Clear track ahead of him.
Yeah, this is really what we've seen all summer from Eli Tomac. This was a renaissance year for him, winning both championships indoors and out. And he was really like a new person, honestly. Personality really showing through. He looked more comfortable in his own skin, and I don't know whether that's showing in the results today or not, but that was really the story of 2022.
Up on the pegs as long as possible, then sits down, gets on the gas, doesn't need to rush the corners. He's got about a 3-second advantage at the moment. Look how there's just that one line at the moment. Okay, you can go either side of that, but we're getting that definitive line. That's the line on the takeoff of that Monster Energy jump that riders are going to feel the safest with.
Yeah, and these two have a now 7-second gap back to third place, so they're kind of into the meat of the moto here, where they can calm down, search for lines a little bit. They don't have to rush anything, and maybe for Geertz, he can just suss Tomac out a little bit, get him into the moto and try to make a pass.
Outside line working beautifully at the top of the hill. He's going to have to dig deep though. The gap 2.4 seconds at the moment as Geertz sets the fastest sector 1 and 2 times this time around. About 3/10 quicker than Tomac in sector 1 and about 4/10 in sector 2. So he's finding some speed and some confidence from somewhere is the Belgian.
Yeah, and he can really just latch onto the back of Tomac. You know, there's no urgency. They have no pressure from behind, and I think both of them are comfortable with the pace right now. You don't really see many mistakes. You see how comfortable Tomac was standing up, both feet on the pegs through that corner. So unless there's a big charge from somewhere behind them, which I don't really see developing at the moment, I think they're both comfortable here for now.
Yeah, the only battle that we are going to be interested in looking at outside of this is for third between Max and Renault. A little bit heavy there for Tomac though. Just got hung up ever so slightly. Is Geertz going to triple? No, he doesn't. I think they've given up that one right there. But Renault and Seaworth separated by 3/4 of a second now as they enter the final sector of this racetrack. So are we going to see a pass from 4th to 3rd? And right on cue, Seaworth all over the back of Max and Renault. This is the battle for 3rd place. So Seaworth has made up around about a second or so. What was his lap time? 2:15 and a 2:13. So yeah, a couple of seconds almost. Got up the inside, got good drive. He let Maxime Renault know that he was there, but he wasn't able to execute that pass before the finish line.
Well, remember, these are two teammates, right, in the regular MXGP series, so they're no strangers to each other. I'm sure they're showing each other a little bit of respect because of that, but they're also battling incredibly hard here.
So USA leading the way on 10 points at the moment, with Tomac leading and Justin Cooper in 9th place. Belgium are on 2nd, 3 points behind, with Geertz in 2nd and Liam Evans in 11th place. 3rd is Australia, tied with Belgium at the moment, with their riders 5th and 8th. Mitch Evans and Hunter Lawrence. Hunter Lawrence, the lead MX2 rider at the moment. This is Evans and Prado. These two are 5th and 6th for Australia and Spain. And remember, back in 2018, Jorge Prado won the MX2 class. Hunter Lawrence was 2nd in the MX2 overall category. So you have the nations classification plus individual class winners, those with the lowest score over their 2 races.
Yeah, and a lot of the American viewers right now are probably not super familiar with Mitch Evans, but he's been on Honda HRC all season long in MXGP and really started finding his rhythm towards the end of the MXGP series. So it should be no surprise for the MXGP regulars seeing Mitch Evans out front, but I think a lot of Americans were viewing Mitch Evans as the weak link of Australia. That's probably not fair to the effort he's put in this year.
See how heavy it is as they head up towards that Talladega turn. Obviously, rain only runs downhill, and you know it's a heavily dipped pair of goggles there on the track. So somebody without visibility at the moment, unless they've come into pit lane already. But Mitch Evans doing a good job of holding that 5th place at the moment. But what was his lap compared to Prado? 2:16, 2:15. So Prado in the ascendancy.
Yeah, and it's, you know, there's a little bit of strategy with saving your vision in a race like this. You see Prado, he's about 10 meters back, something like that. If you get much closer than that, you almost have to strike immediately. And you'll see if he's this close, he's going to try to make a pass right away, or he's going to have to drop back. because sitting in that 2 to 3, 4 meter zone, all you end up doing is ruining your goggles, and then you can't move forward past that.
Mitch Evans just casing the city jump a moment ago. Didn't get the distance.
Yep, you see Prado weaving in and out. You see him cut back. The last thing he wants to do is sit in the roost zone of Mitch Evans here.
Might make a move here going into the final turn, but not quite close enough. He tried to pull the clutch in and give it the old panic rev technique, but he's going to try the long way round now and park it down the inside. But again, backwards and forwards, left, right, trying to work every part of the racetrack. Evans knows that Prado is there, but the Spaniard's still not able to find a way through at the moment.
Yeah, he's just dipping in and out, anything but sitting behind him. And you see him have to duck his head there just to try to block any roost. He takes, a suboptimal line. As we see a rider there, can't quite make out who that is. But yeah, Prado, if he doesn't make a move quickly, I would expect to see him drop back.
First and second, in amongst the back markers. All of a sudden, the gap down to 1.5 seconds between Tomac, a little bit offline, and then Geertz just getting held up behind the two. And one of them falling. So fortunately for Geertz, he was already out of the line of that rider anyway. But Tomac, all of a sudden, a sense of urgency with his riding style. He sensed that Geertz was closing in on him. He's decided to pull the pin and try and get out of there.
Well, and that was such a big factor yesterday. We had a lot of the unqualified teams in the race. Not so much today, but that's already one variable of this race. Is if the track is very one line, there's going to be a favored line all the way around this racetrack, and if a lapped rider is in it, you're going to have to be really creative to not lose time.
Or take the risk. Depends on what kind of space you've got in and around you. But when you're fighting like these two are, about seconds apart at the moment, sometimes that is a risk too much to take.
Yeah, and sometimes it just comes down to bad luck. A lot of times, you can do everything right and still lose time.
Just under 15 minutes plus 2 to go. That line is clearing up, and Valentin Guillot, the MX2 rider for Switzerland. All of a sudden, Switzerland then, they would have needed that. And here is the thing with the Motocross of Nations event. 1 point for a win, 2 for second, 3 for third. You have 3 races, but because you have 3 riders on the team, they all get 2 rides each. So there's 6 scores potentially at the end of it all. You can throw away your worst score. Switzerland now under pressure to pull a result out of the bag because they can't afford any more slip-ups. Valentin Guillot having a problem there that time around.
And then we saw the same thing with Valentin yesterday. He had a really tough Saturday. He's following that up with another tough day. And we know what he's capable of. He's capable of running with the likes of Renault. We've seen him battle in the MXGP class, so a really tough break there for Switzerland.
Valentin Guillot in the qualifying race yesterday, the MX2, and Anthony Rodriguez, who came through the Venezuela coming through the B final, obviously having a problem as well. So tough race for A-Rod. But back to Valentin Guillot, he said he fell in turn 3. So after pit lane, go left and then right just before the step down. He tried to cut back there. A rider fell in front of him, and then Shimoda hit his bike and broke his throttle, so he had no way of finishing the race.
Yeah, that's a big part of this race. Everything and anything goes at this event, and for Switzerland, they're almost going to need a miracle now. They're really going to need Seward to anchor that team, and you hate to see that for Guillot because he's done really well at this event before.
Yeah, Switzerland at the moment with a 4 and a 38, that's what Guillot would have, put them on 42 points. Of course, you can throw that away, so it's not bad at the moment when you think, after one race, if you threw a score away, they are potentially on 4 points. But we don't do that until the final race, of course. First sighting of Justin Cooper with 13 minutes to go. The American sitting there in 9th place. He's the second best MX2 rider behind Hunter Lawrence, but he was so fast and efficient in the MX2 qualifying race yesterday. Justin Cooper, 102 for America. They've got Tomac leading the way, Cooper in 9th. In the old days, I would say 94, I think from 95 they changed the scoring system to where you finish in the race. So Tomac on 1 and Cooper on 9. 1 plus 9 is 10 points. In 94, that was the last year when even if you were the first of your class and you were in 8th like Hunter Lawrence's, you still got 1 point. So when Great Britain won it in 94 and I was riding the 125 class, I went 5-6 in the race, but I was the best 125 and went 1-1 in that scenario. So you can see how the scoring system has changed over the years.
Absolutely, yeah. And just on Justin Cooper there, he was chasing Hunter Lawrence early in the race. Hunter Lawrence has since pulled a little bit of a lead, and there's always a race within a race. Being the top MX2 rider is very important, but also for Justin Cooper, he wants to beat Hunter Lawrence because of that Australia versus Team USA battle. So just because you're 9th in the moto doesn't always mean everything. You also want to make sure you know where the other MX2 riders are.
So Jeremy Seawer, he will know by now that his teammate is out of the race, and the pressure is on him to try and get as high up the leaderboard as possible. But he's following his normal Monster Energy Factory Yamaha teammate Maxime Renault, who is riding for France this weekend. And good to see him actually, Maxime Renault, because at his home Grand Prix he had a bit of a wobble this year. Don't know if it was a bit of pressure there. His first Motocross for Nations in Assen in 2019, he had a wobble there as well, maybe the expectation, but good to see him in a good fighting third place here and withstanding the pressure from behind.
Well, and both of these two, even with Renault's troubles individually, they both had outstanding 2022. Maxime Renault coming off of the MX2 World Championship in 2021. I was wildly impressed. Both of them were MXGP winners this year, so it's no surprise to see them here running at the front.
Tony Cairoli, number one. Italy, the defending champions, of course. They won at home in Italy at Mantova at the end of, I think it was September or October, back in 2021. But he is in 7th place. His teammate, Andrea Adamo, in 13th. Italy currently 5th overall in the general classification as it stands right now. And there is Adamo just going out a shot in the blue shirt.
Yeah, you have to think this is a pretty strong performance for Adamo. He's leading, veteran Marvin Musquin here, and I think many wondered how would Adamo respond to the pressure. Right, they're coming off of winning in Italy last year, just a huge emotional win. And Andrea's young; he doesn't have a ton of experience on this stage, under this kind of pressure. And I think so far he's risen to the occasion.
Just keeping an eye on the gap at the head of the field. Tomac in control at the moment, almost 4 seconds clear. He was 2 seconds quicker than Kiet last time around. And Eli Tomac has never won a race at a Motocross of Nations event. Never. Won an individual moto.
Why would you say that?
I'm just saying, he is 10 minutes away from doing that.
Right. And I've gotten to watch him so many times, and his performances have been incredible, but you're right. He's never been able to seal the deal, even though at times he's had the fastest lap times, and you watch him come through the pack. The starts have always been a hindrance, and it's always been a battle from the back.
3 MX2 riders at the bottom of the hill. Marvin Musquin in 14th. Kevin Horgmo. In fact, Adamo and then Musquin. Yeah, that's right. So Musquin, top of the hill, found his way past Adamo. So he clears the Italian, moves into 13th. Adamo now 14th. Horgmo in 15th. Riding for Norway, wasn't here in 2018, so happened to learn the track in a 40-minute practice session yesterday, and then of course in the qualifying race on Saturday afternoon as well. But Kevin Horgmo having a good ride. He finished 4th in the MX2 Motocross World Championship this year. Anstey, a problem with the machine. He was struggling yesterday to try and get a good setup on that, so a tough race for the Brit. And 18th and 32nd for their 2 riders. Dean Wilson in 18th place. Again, another team fancied for the podium in these conditions. They are now under pressure to get 4 good scores from the next 2 motos.
Yeah, and I was thinking about the difference in experience and age and all the things between Adamo and Musquin who are battling. Marvin Musquin was a world champion in MX2 class in 2009, 2010 range. Andrea Adamo was probably, 6 years old watching that, right? But here they are on the world's biggest stage battling it out. And Marvin Musquin hasn't raced an MX2 or a 250 here in the US in 6 years, 7 years. So a very unlikely scenario, but that's what the Motocross of Nations is.
Jeremy Seawer was 4th, but has he lost ground? Well, he's down there, and he had a good gap over Mitch Evans, but all of a sudden, knowing that his teammate is out of the race, putting himself under pressure, maybe that's why the mistake came.
Well, and this track is so tricky right now. The conditions, we have this slop on top of a harder base, and even though the track crew has done a phenomenal job of prep here, it can bite you. See the ruts forming. None of these ruts were here 15 minutes ago, so these riders are having to adapt on the fly.
This corner was so heavy back in 2018 when we were last here, but all of a sudden, Jago Kiet's back within 2 seconds of the leader, Eli Tomac. That was out to, 3.5, 4 seconds a moment ago, so a good response from the Belgian, but it's still the American who leads the way, and holding his nerve at the head of the field in what are difficult conditions. The experience and expertise of these riders to know when to push, how to push, where are the good lines, when to take that risk. Those 2 are doing a fantastic job of that at the moment. They're 18 seconds clear of their nearest rival, Maxime Renault, in 3rd.
And I think you're going to see that yo-yo effect, and it's more of who makes a mistake and who doesn't lap to lap. It's almost impossible to put in perfect laps right now, so it's who can minimize the mistakes and who can really maintain a rhythm as they work through all these back markers, which is probably a big factor. You're not getting to choose your preferred line. You see Tomac, he doesn't really know to choose inside, outside. And a lot of these lines have changed so much since the last time they had to use that line. It gets a little bit tricky.
Just saw a moment ago Adamo under pressure from Horgmo as they fight over that 14th place, but Jago Geerts in amongst the traffic behind the Swede.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about. The back markers can make such a big difference. You saw how much time that cost Geerts just because of one corner of having to slow down to the back marker pace.
Yeah, the Swede there, Alvin Osman, number 55. So those two, him and his teammate Alvin Gerhardsson, they fell on the opening lap together. Oh, and Jago Geerts almost off the side of the bike. He manages to keep it up on two wheels. Fortunately, he's got 20 seconds between himself and third place, but he would have loved, and he's obviously, you know, he would love to stay in this battle for the lead, and he's fortunate enough to be able to do that. Big moment.
Is that the frustration, right? He knows he lost a bunch of time. He had closed it down to under 2 seconds, and he sees Tomac expand that, maybe trying a little bit too hard, overriding the track just there a bit.
So Tomac, no personal bests for any of the top riders now in any of the sectors. All grey zones in sectors 1, 2, 3 and 4. Simon Langenfelder getting lap there for Germany, number 32. So he is in 19th place at the moment, Langenfelder.
Right, it's really difficult to hold the lap time, right? And that's the key for a lot of these guys is they want to see the same lap time after time, but the track's going away. So if you try to hold it, you can override the track a bit just trying to stay there when naturally it's going to slow down.
This was Jago Geerts a moment ago. Cost him about a second. Back end the wrong side of the berm there, and he's made another mistake here. So maybe frustration starting to spill over for the Belgian as he loses more time to the race leader.
Yeah, and I think he was, he was expecting to close into Tomac and battle these last few laps. And I think when Tomac got that gap, which wasn't really Geerts' fault, I think that just changed, and he's trying to pick up the intensity to match that. And I think there's a limit to the track right now, and he may have found it.
This is still an impressive ride, though, from Jago Geerts. An MX2 rider in the World Championship. Did a little bit of 450 riding in the off-season when he came out here to ride in the States, but picking it back up in the last couple of weeks. An impressive 450 debut for the Belgian runner-up in the World Championship this year in MX2.
Yeah, and of course it was a devastating defeat to not win the World Championship in Turkey, but I still think it was by far his best MX2 season ever. You're seeing that maturity and that form really developing on the MXGP motorcycle.
We're not seeing too many blue flags at the moment, and that's going to be frustrating for the Belgian, number 16, Jago Geerts. All of a sudden, he finds a way through, but it's just cost him way too much time. Simon Langenfelder not making it easy for Jago Geerts to go through. He's in his own race, but he's seen Tomac go by. You can't miss the 101 on the back of the shirt. You know who that is coming into this weekend. And of course, that has blown the gap wide open now between first and second.
Yeah, and it's really challenging to get out of the way on this racetrack right now. There's maybe 2 lines at best, and if you're Langenfelder, you're in your own little battle. I don't know if he necessarily knew that was another back marker or if it was actually Geerts, but yeah, either way, at this race, on this level, and you see Tomac actually, I think that's the first time he's jumped this jump, and he's waited for the track to come in. He's waited for a good line to develop, and I wasn't sure which way it was going to go, if we were going to get more rain and the track would get worse in that section, or if actually a line would firm up and he'd be able to jump it.
Eli Tomac making the best of the drying conditions now as he launches up over Larocco's lead. Just barely gets over though. Maybe he won't do it next time around. Maybe he will. Who knows? But right now, Tomac riding in a world of confidence, almost 8 seconds clear of Jago Geerts, the Belgian.
Yeah, and you've seen a lot of these guys settle in, right? Through the top 10, not a lot of passing. I think everybody's found their pace. They've gapped out a little bit. If you look through the time segments, no one's really batting, and a lot of that is because of the roost. You simply can't sustain sitting on someone's rear wheel right now.
We've seen a little bit of Mitch Evans in 5th place battling with Jorge Prado. Haven't seen too much of his teammate Hunter Lawrence, 114 in 8th place, the first of the MX2 riders. He's about 7 seconds clear of Justin Cooper at the moment as Tomac makes his best lap of the race, puts the timing screen green. So it's taken him 11 laps to put his fastest lap in to 11.6. About 3/10 down on Jago Geerts, who set the fastest lap on lap 5.
Yeah, and you wonder if that was the lap that really breaks the effort of Geerts. He put 5 seconds into him on that lap, and a lot of that was, Geerts making a mistake. He turns one of his worst laps to the 2:16. But there's always that moment where everybody trying to force a move forward or backwards, and Tomac looks like he got the best of it there.
Just over 2 minutes to go. Here's Hunter Lawrence. In 8th, he is the lead MX2 rider. Justin Cooper about 6.5 seconds behind him for the USA. So the HRC rider, Hunter Lawrence, in a good position in terms of the overall MX2 classification, which he won in 2017 at Matterley Basin when it was held there. had to play second fiddle to Jorge Prado when we were here in 2018. But looking good for Lawrence at the moment, and Australia. They're currently second overall. So just over a minute and a half to go then. Bottom of the hill. 102, Justin Cooper, the second rider in shot here. He is the second MX2 rider. Hunter Lawrence already up and over the triple in the background. That's the gap between the first and second MX2 riders of Hunter Lawrence of Australia and Justin Cooper of America. But those combined scores, a first and a ninth for Tomac and Cooper, giving them 10 points. They have a 3-point buffer over Australia at the moment.
Yeah, and for Justin Cooper, he won't be thrilled that Hunter Lawrence got away from him here, but at the same time, you've got to manage expectations and understand that if Hunter's riding really well, I can't match his pace, you can't throw a moto away, because to be able to use a 9, they may need that score. We get more rain, we have a first turn crash, that 9 may be extra valuable at the end of the day.
Not easy conditions for an MX2 rider. I think we'll see slightly different results for the MX2 riders in the next race, because even though they're back-to-back races with not a lot of time in between motos, about 45 minutes, something like that. So a quick turnaround. Normally your strongest 450 riders are your MXGP riders, normally. So expect Lawrence and Cooper, Kai de Wolf, who's the third best MX2 rider, to be mixing it for top 3, top 5 positions next time out.
Yeah, and I'll be very curious to see the starting grid positioning for Moto2. Do the MX2 riders go the same way? Does a guy like Glenn Coldenhoff choose that again? Because it didn't work out this time. He got the inside gate for Moto1 and it didn't pan out. We still find him down in 13th position after such a strong, dominant performance here in 2018. They have to be frustrated with that.
Yeah, and he's what, 9th best MXGP rider. So the Netherlands at the moment, he is 6th. Netherlands are 6th, but he was 29th on the opening lap, Glenn Coldenhoff, because of where he started, somehow getting held up on the first lap.
Yeah, and you would assume it was just a pileup or some sort of traffic jam somewhere, because Coldenhoff is a great starter. He knows this event so well, but in the mud, anything goes, right? Riders are swerving every direction. You see Benny Bloss there for Team Guam, who's had a really great summer, and unfortunately it looks like he had some sort of mechanical failure there.
Marvin Musquin continues to circulate in 14th place. The French rider, his teammate is Maxime Renault. He's in 3rd. So France is sitting 4th place at the moment with a 14 and a 3 score. That putting them on 17 points. 3 behind Belgium, who are sitting 3rd at the moment. A 2nd and a 12th for Jago Geerts and Liam Evans. And Evans may be closing in, where is he, on Nagel possibly? No, Nagel has a 218 and Evans on a 220. But Evans in 5th place, closing in on Jeremy Seawer. We know Seawer fell a few laps ago whilst pushing Maxime Renault, so maybe there is a bit of a battle there for 4th place and a good second half race resurgence for the Australian Mitch Evans. No doubt getting the hurry up from the pit crew, because if he makes another pass, that gap goes from 13 down to 12 points.
Yeah, this is pretty wild to see Eli Tomac lapping already up. That's Adamo in 15th. Next up would be Team France's Marvin Musquin. So it just goes to show not only how much of a benefit it is to get the start, but also the pace that Eli Tomac and Jago Geerts are putting in.
What a difference between Andrea Adamo and Simon Langenfelder. A couple of laps ago, Jago Geerts behind Langenfelder, yet Langenfelder concentrating on his own race. Adamo, knowing exactly what's going on around him, saw Tomac was there, waved, and let him through. Yeah. Did not want to interfere with play.
And that's fair play to Adamo there for having that sense of awareness here in this race. And right here, we'll see how he handles it with Jago Geerts. Again, he looks around, right? And that's the smart move. Be aware of your surroundings and don't force a line there.
So the gap down to 4 seconds again between first and second. Look, Tomac a 2:15.5, a 2:13.3, so almost 2 seconds pulled that back. And all of a sudden, in Sector 2, Jago Geerts sets the timing screen purple. That is the fastest Sector 2 of the race so far, and we are on the final 2 laps.
Yeah, and you wonder where Tomac's urgency level is. He put in a 2:11 just 2 or 3 laps ago. He got the 2 lap forward, so maybe he's backed it off a little bit. But he needs to be really careful, because if Geerts gets a lineup on him, he's going to have a battle on the last lap that he doesn't really want.
Hunter Lawrence and Tony Cairoli. Cairoli in 7th, Hunter Lawrence in 8th. Lap times 2:20 and 2:18 respectively for the 9-time champ and Hunter Lawrence. So there may be another crucial point on offer here for Australia and Hunter Lawrence if he can find his way past Tony Cairoli on the #1 machine for Italy, defending champions, remember.
Yeah, and you have to think Cairoli has so much experience, 9-time world champion, that he sees Lawrence, he understands the situation, a lap and a half to go, that he's not going to let something like that happen.
Into the final lap, Eli Tomac with a 2:12.17. He has a 4.3-second advantage over Jago Geerts, but Geerts just setting the fastest lap of the race on the penultimate lap, 2:11.2. But surely that gap too big to bridge between Tomac and Geerts. Said the same in the qualifying race yesterday in the open class, and I don't see the same mistake happening here to Tomac.
Well, anything goes, right? Anything can happen in the sport, but I think the most important thing there was Tomac dropped back to a 2:12. He had done a 2:15 the lap prior, and you don't know if that was a mistake or maybe just he had slowed the pace a little bit, but he's obviously gotten the message that Geerts was just back there.
A start to finish lead at the moment. I'll say lead. Don't want to get your...
Of course. Well, yesterday we had all but given the race to Chase Sexton in the MX Open qualification, and he threw it away in a section we're coming up to. So I don't take anything for granted at this race. I've seen way too many crazy things happen. So for Tomac, he just really needs to stay focused here. Don't think about anything other than this last lap.
How good has the track developed over the course of the race, though? The race line is starting to open up. The track is getting wider as the rain stays off, the wind picks up, and more riders taking chances on the racetrack as they go after new lines to make passes.
Well, this is a reasonable racetrack. Is it difficult? Yes. Is it very technical? Of course. But you see how hard they're pushing. They're not having to methodically work around the racetrack. Like, they're riding pretty loose and they're taking some chances, which is what we really want. We want to see the best race possible.
So the noise around this Redbud circuit here for Eli Tomac, who is on his final lap here in race 1. He holds a 5-second advantage over Jago Geerts. Geerts in the bottom left corner of your screen now. Tomac up the end of the wave section. The gap is coming down in this final split. He takes one look over his shoulder, and that's the first time I think Tomac has looked over his shoulder the entire race. But he's just 3 corners from home. And with it, Eli Tomac 3 corners from taking his first ever race win in a Motocross of Nations event. He's been seconds and thirds, he's had his fair share of ups and downs, but Eli Tomac has been solid here in race 1, and the American will win race 1 here and take his first win in this event since his first appearance. Jago Geerts crosses the line second for Belgium. Maxime Renault is a long way down, about 48 seconds down actually for third. What a pace from Tomac and Geerts, and what an impressive performance from the young Belgian as well, riding that challenge and taking the challenge to, well, Chase Sexton in the qualifying race. Yes.